What if you decided that you already won? This game of life, whatever you may be chasing, does that make you more content? The anxiety fuels my drive for success, to build, to make real change in the world. And those are two polarities that for me, I struggle with a lot because I want both of them. I want to be driven. That anxiety is almost good because it drives me to try to make change and build and become a better person. But at the same time, I don't always feel happy and I don't feel content. Off the Tadz, Paris edition. I don't smoke, but I thought it was a nice accessory. Team, welcome back. Last week, I was in Oklahoma and Kansas City with the fam and decided that it was time to give myself a break from the action of the podcast. We've been doing 2 episodes now for a few months now. We hit 25 episodes as of 2 weeks ago and got home and was a little bit stressed out about getting off the top down when I was with family, and decided, you know what, we're going to give ourselves a little break. So very quickly, after taking that break though, funny enough, traveling again this week in Paris, and I had that sensation in my mind like, oh, like I'm still traveling. Maybe I take this week off too. But James Clear, Atomic Habits, this is a beautiful rule. Never miss twice rule. If you miss a habit once, don't miss it twice, because then you start a new habit, the habit of not doing the thing. You don't need to be perfect. Life will happen. You just need to be consistent. Go off, James. That was a shout out to Lando. He was the one that flagged that. And here we are, this beautiful, beautiful apartment. Thank you, Lauren, with the salon, for letting me stay here. We've got art all over the wall, a really cool loft type setup. And I'll talk about this later, but short form wise, I'm going to start doing these like 10 to 15 second reels with some B-roll and voiceover from off the top. So I'm still struggling to get the podcast out in an authentic way that is fun on socials. Like, I don't like just posting podcast clips, especially for off the top. Like, I want to be a little bit more creative. And so I have a creative constraint or challenge that I've put myself within that I'll talk to. Okay, here we are, Paris edition, off the top. Happy Sunday. Learning number 1 from the last 2 weeks. This comes from My First Million. Shaan was talking about when he interacts with founders, a lot of times they'll talk about the lessons that they've learned. And he speaks to now realizing that a lot of these lessons that people say they learned aren't the right lesson to be learned. Like, if you double click into the lesson, it's not necessarily the right takeaway. So I've been thinking about that a lot. Is like, over the last few years, or even more recently, the last few months, am I taking away the right lesson from my actions, both professionally, socially, personally? I think an example he gave was a friend was recounting a story and said something along the lines of, yeah, like, I just learned you can't trust people. He said, well, is that really the right takeaway? Like, of course you can trust people. You just have to trust the right people. So what is the layer underneath that you should be walking away with, takeaway wise, that allows you to come up with a better framework? And one thing he spoke to doing that I actually like to do too is opening up like a Google Doc. For me, it's my journal, and just writing out high level questions about what happened and kind of coaching myself, my future self, through whatever it is that I'm processing. So a question might be, you know, what was the quote unquote failure? What are things that you could have done differently? And did you move the best way that you know how? Stuff like that. And then he even talks about how when you write things down, it's really hard to lie to yourself. When you're talking out loud or even like processing things in your mind, there can be a gap where you're almost like lying to yourself. But when you're writing and you're asking yourself questions, it's much harder to actually lie to yourself. And so it's an exercise that he spoke to and something that I do as well. So I wanted to share that, but a great message from Shaan, and something that I've been thinking more about. On the topic of lessons, one other thing too that I've been thinking through is calculated risk. And when something doesn't quote unquote go your way, or you're disappointed, failing, whatever it may be, at times, like, I think I forget that throughout life, you're going to take calculated risk. And a lot of times those things, given, the fact that it is a risk, there's a probability that, half the time or whatever percent of the time, things aren't going to go your way. And so reminding yourself, like, okay, I did and thought through this the right way. It just didn't happen to go my way, because probability and, the universe will tell you that that's going to happen. And time might even teach you that it happened for a reason. And so I think this last year, I've had a lot of forks in the road, and there's been times where I haven't been happy with an outcome. And I look back and I say, you know what, like, I actually approached this the right way and thought it through the right way. It was a calculated risk. Didn't go my way, but that's okay. And maybe it didn't go my way for a certain reason. Lesson number 1, shout out Shaan. Lesson number 2 from this week actually comes from Professor Tadz, Joy Arbitrage, in his trend report. He pulled this formula from another Substacker, Lydia Keating. The formula goes like this: nostalgia equals memory minus anxiety. I'm going to say that again. Nostalgia equals memory minus anxiety. So in other words, nostalgia equals past memories less anxiety that you experienced while you were living that memory. So for example, 7 years ago, I was in college. I was nervous about many different things, primarily getting a job out of school. But at that same time, I was living all these different kinds of experiences. And when I look back on those experiences, now I'm like, oh, like, those are great memories, right? But I also have the benefit of looking back on them and knowing that those worries that I had at that time that were giving me anxiety worked out. And I can connect the dots and be like, this worked out for a given reason, I have a perspective now. I gained perspective through time that allows me to look back on it with probably a more positive experience than maybe I was feeling at that given time. And so I've been thinking about like this idea of nostalgia and just happiness in general, and like how I can tap into that level of contentment. Naval has a great quote on happiness in general. It goes something along the lines of, happiness is when you lack the need for more, when you are okay with what you have. That is like the essence of happiness. So a question that I didn't come up with, but I've heard before that I've been using is, what if you decided that you already won this game of life, whatever you may be chasing? What if you decided that you won that already? Does that make you more content? And it's something that I personally struggle with. Like, I don't have the right answer necessarily. It's just an open question that I've been experiencing. The anxiety fuels my drive for success, to build, to make real change in the world. And those are two polarities that for me, I struggle with a lot, because I want both of them. I want to be driven. That anxiety is almost good because it drives me to try to make change and build and become a better person. But at the same time, like, I don't always feel happy and I don't feel content in a lot of ways. So I'm trying to relate nostalgia and happiness in that formula, because I do think they're a little bit related. But it got me thinking more about, how we gain perspective with time and giving yourself grace in the present moment. So the lesson number 2, nostalgia equals memory minus anxiety. Challenge from the week. I spoke to this when I opened up the podcast, but challenge from the last 2 weeks, I think I have quite a bit of negative self-talk around short form content and the fact that I'm putting so much effort into these podcasts and like I haven't nailed the right short form content that like really speaks to my essence. Like I don't like just posting a video of people speaking back and forth. Like I get a lot of energy and excitement from like intertwining music and creativity. And so one thing I'm going to start doing is adding like creative challenges to finding that right format for me on short form. So for me, that looks like saying, all right, I have 15 seconds for my next reel. I'm going to pull a little bit of copy and voiceover from off the top, and then have 5 different shots, camera angles, and come up with like some B-roll that is unique, adds like some music to it, and just try it. I think I just need to get in the habit of trying short form. It's just, I've gotten a little bit comfortable with the long form and it's cozy. Like the audience as of right now is friendly people that, typically we get good feedback from. It's friends. My mom's good friends. Shout out Mama Hav's friends that listen and, shoot the kindest messages ever. But, at some point that hopefully will change. But with that is going to bring a lot of questions and probably some negative feedback, which is, going to be something I deal with at that point in time. But yeah, I struggle with that comparison of like seeing people that have found their niche and becoming like a little bit envious of that, especially if it's like a niche or format that I kind of view as mine too. But it'll come, and what I'm reminding myself of is like you kind of have to just iterate and learn and just continue to put yourself out there to find that right format that speaks to you and your essence and hopefully like will bring change in the world. But another thing I've been thinking about is like my relationship to social media. I'm also like, do I really want to try to build a presence on social media? Because like I get off Instagram right now and like 8 out of 10 times I feel like worse about myself. And a lot of that is from comparison. And it's something that I've thought a lot about. Like I want people to feel empowered by the message and to go on their own journey of growth, learning, creativity, building, whatever it may be, but less so of like comparison, because that's what I find myself doing. And I think it's going to be a generational problem that we all face. Anyway, working on it. Win from the week. Right before I left for this trip, I went up to Storm King with Jim Dinovan and Outstanding in the Field. We are trying this new sort of experiment alongside the podcast where we meet founders or artists in their world. So for this, there was a 200-person dinner experience at Storm King Art Museum. Jim was doing his equivalent of sand art, but like it was lighting, design, and we went out there for the day and just kind of followed him along. We participated in the making of the art, talked to the chefs and guests, and it was this like fully immersive experience. Recorded an hour interview, and there's learnings coming out of that that I kind of messed up on my side in terms of like making sure that the mic setup is easy, but we're learning, we're figuring it out, but I'm glad we took that shot on goal because I think it's something that I find is a little bit more interesting than just sitting in a studio and talking with somebody. Like I like this experiential component that allows guests in the audience to meet the artist or the founder in their world and get to like experience it. Extra credit from the week. I told you guys I was home last week, saw my niece, and was just reminded again of seeing the light in a child's eyes when the parents are related to the parents. Like it's just this core thing that keeps coming up for me. Like I get it. I get why parents put so much time, effort, and like love into their children. and it's a beautiful chapter of life. But we were just kind of reflecting about like when my sister and I were kids with my mom and dad, what that looked like, things that we did. And so anyway, I woke up to a voice note this morning, and to be honest with you, I was debating if it was something that I wanted to share with the world, because it's surprising or unsurprising depending on who you are. Little Lukey. Anyway, I'm going to share it because if you made it this far, you deserve it. It's a little extra credit. Let's see if this works.
So I am reading your baby journal. When you were over a year old, a year and a few months, we had gone to see dad referee, and you were flirting with the cheerleaders. You were in the stroller on the court, and you'd scream to get their attention. And when one of them saw you, would look over and smile, you would put your head down on the front bar of the stroller while continuing to look at the cheerleader with your bashful eyes.
Shout out Mama Hat for documenting that stuff. Great reminder. That's one of the powerful things about a journal is if you want to look back on memories and share them with people you care and love. Happy Sunday. It's good to be back. We've got a good ep this week. Honestly, still haven't edited it, but we're getting there. We're coming back, baby. I'm starting to get the host energy too. So, yeah, we might be back. Cheers.